This nugget is the third in 5 of the 5 process groups in the project management process. This one is focused on executing the delivery of the project. Or what a lot of people say, this is where the work on the project gets done. This is where the team members actually roll up their sleeves and deliver the project itself. It's often said that all of the work is done in executing, and there is very little project management work in executing. I'll certainly agree with half of that. Executing is definitely where the work on the project gets done, but as you can see from this list of project management processes, components from each of the knowledge areas, there is still a significant amount of work for us, the project managers, to do in executing as well. It's really summed up in the first one, direct and manage project execution. This is where we as the project managers get engaged with the project team members, get engaged with the customer, get engaged with the stakeholders, and ensure that the project is moving towards successful completion of its outcome. And how do we do direct and manage project execution? It's really embodied in the remaining pieces or the remaining processes from the other knowledge areas. Key component to ensuring successful execution is performing quality assurance, ensuring that we're doing all of the things that we said we were going to do to ensure project success. We need to focus on making sure that we have the team in place to allow us to do the delivery of the project. That includes working with human resources to acquire the project team, bringing on the appropriate team members with the appropriate skills at the appropriate time in the project. Typically, all team members do not join a project at day one. We will get a few team members at startup. We'll get additional team members at month 3, additional team members at month 6, and so on. And we will also remove some of the team members from the project team as they're no longer required. If we have designers in the project, we would keep the designers on for the front end for the design phase of our project. But as we go into construction, we would remove some of the designers and only keep 1 or 2 designers around for the construction team to interact with. As part of acquiring the team, we need to make sure we have proper orientation in place to ensure that everyone joining the team, understands the project, understands the norms that are expected of them as part of project delivery. There may be specific training required to develop the project team, and a new aspect to executing, not a new aspect to project management, but in this release of the PMBOK guide, in the 4th edition of the PMBOK guide, this knowledge area, or this process of the knowledge area, managed project team, has been moved to executing from the monitoring and control process group. So again, there are some changes in the executing as well as in the monitoring and control process groups in this 4th edition that those of you who have some experience in the previous editions of the PMBOK guide need to be aware of. And the first of these is the movement of manage the project team to the executing process group. Manage the project team I often refer to as removing the roadblocks, doing what it takes to allow the project team to be most effective. Another key aspect to executing is distribute information, or simply sum up, communicate. And as what I like to say, communicate, communicate, communicate. And if you're not totally sure that your message has been understood by all of the stakeholders, communicate at least one more time. One of the most important things we're going to do as a project manager, especially in the executing stage, is communicate. Distribute the information about our project to anyone and everyone that's interested in the project. Distribute information to each and every stakeholder. And that really goes directly into our next one, which is manage stakeholders' expectations. And again, this is a new component for executing. As a matter of fact, this is really the concept of extra attention on managing the stakeholders' expectations. Managing the stakeholder expectation was introduced in the previous edition of the PMBOK guide, but as you're aware, there's been more emphasis on stakeholder management in the 4th edition. We added the new process for identify the stakeholders, and there's increased emphasis now in this fourth edition on managing of the stakeholders' expectations. So again, another change in the executing process group that you need to be aware of as you're preparing for your PMBOK PMP exam. And finally, our last piece of executing is conduct procurements. Not really a new part of executing. Executing previously had activities associated with procurement. This is simply the result of combining of multiple processes in this edition of the PMBOK into the single one of conduct procurements. So as we can see, there's a lot of project management activity associated with executing. It's important that we understand each and every one of these processes and how they relate to project management and how they relate to our executing process group.
The key component of project executing is directing and managing the project. As defined in Project Integration Management knowledge area, directing and managing the project is the focused activities of the project management team to ensure that the project is completed, to ensure that all of the work on the project is completed, that all of the work is completed to specification, and that the business is happy. As mentioned in the introduction to this nugget, this is where the most effort on the project is expended. This is where all of the project team members' work is completed. The other components to our project management processes, initiating, planning, monitoring and controlling, and closing, are all project management activities. No one but the project management team is involved with the other project management process groups. Project executing, on the other hand, is where all of the other project team members' work is spent. The project team members work on the project task assignments. The project team members complete each and every project deliverable, complete each and every task assignment. So obviously this is where the most effort is expended. But our focus is not necessarily on the execution of each individual task. Our focus is on ensuring that each and every individual task is completed appropriately, on time, and so on, but that the actual execution of those tasks is the project team member's activity, responsibility. This is an important concept to understand. Project management is not about rolling up your sleeves and working on the project. Project management is not about rolling up your sleeves, sitting down beside one of your team members and say, let me help you with that. I've been there, I've done that, I know how to do that. I can really produce this X deliverable far faster than you can. Let me do it for you. That will get my project back on track. That's not what directing and managing the project is all about. As a project manager, you will be ensuring that the project team members are doing their job, but not doing their job. So again, most of the work is expended in this particular phase of project management, process group of project management. But you are not actually doing the work. You're letting the team members do the jobs for which they were assigned to the project. Obviously, all of the deliverables are produced in this particular component of our project. Each and every task is executed, and therefore each and every deliverable for the project is produced in this phase of our project. Where we get involved as project managers is in the problem area. There will be problems during project execution. Deliverables will not satisfy specifications. Team members will not have the materials they need, the skills they need, the tools they need. We will have to go out and buy additional support for the project. We will have to get additional training. We may have to bring in additional team members. We may have to. Our key activity in project execution, in directing and managing the project, is resolving of problems. So this is why you're not going to roll up your sleeves and sit down beside the team member and say, I've got the experience, I can help you get this job done. Let me get this single task, let me get the single deliverable produced more efficiently. You don't want to do that because your job, our job as a project manager, is to resolve the problems, to remove the roadblocks, to ensure that the team members have the support, the tools, the equipment, the training, the materials, the authority, the knowledge, whatever is going to be involved with making sure they are prepared, equipped to execute the project. This is where we, the project managers, are going to help. We're going to ensure that the problems are resolved. We're going to remove the roadblocks. We're going to do everything in our power to ensure the team members are empowered, equipped to complete and execute the project. Bottom line, this is where the project itself is delivered. Therefore, we need to ensure we're doing everything we can to support the team to get the project delivered as efficiently, as effectively, i.e. on time, on budget, to customer satisfaction. We are supporting the team during project execution. We have to resist the urge to roll up our sleeves and do it for our team. One of the most critical components of project executing, from a project management viewpoint, is quality assurance. Whether you directly are responsible for quality assurance, i.e. in addition to the project manager's hat, you're also wearing the quality manager hat, and that's not uncommon for smaller projects. So in small projects, it's very common that the project manager is also the quality manager. As projects get larger and more complex, we will often bring in a separate manager directly responsible for quality. Doesn't matter from a project execution viewpoint whether you are wearing the quality manager's hat or whether you have a separate quality manager reporting to you. Obviously, as part of project execution, it's important that the quality assurance processes are followed. We need to ensure that quality is an integrated part of our project. We need to ensure that each and every team member is following the project processes, that the standards and procedures defined for the project are being followed. Successful project execution, i.e. successful project delivery, has no room for project heroics. A specific project team member who's determined to be the hero, to take shortcuts, to get things done, but to get things done their way, following shortcuts, is not satisfying successful project delivery. We need to ensure that all project processes are followed. That if the project standards and procedures define something is to be done a specific way, a document is to be produced in this format, using this font size, using this structure, that is the way the project must be executed. If a team member finds a shortcut, finds a way to produce the document that's better, they are welcomed to implement that as part of process improvement, to talk to the quality assurance manager, to talk to the project manager, to say, hey, I think I found a better way. How about we change the standards and procedures to follow my better way? That's perfect. But if the project team member simply believes through individual heroics, if they shortcut the process, find a better way without changing the standards and procedures, that's not improving the project delivery scenario. Quality assurance is all about ensuring that all processes are followed so that each and every team member is delivering project results in a consistent, proven, reliable, expected format. That's what quality assurance is all about. When team members find better ways to do that, that's wonderful, and that's to be encouraged. But when team members find better ways to do things, they need to feed it back into the quality assurance process, put it through a proper process improvement process, that it can be reviewed and evaluated that says, yes, this team member has in fact found a better way. Let's implement that project-wide so that all future deliverables, all future components for our project are delivered using this better process, as opposed to one hero, and I'm sorry to pick on the term hero, but often it's the heroic activities, the one rogue team member, and again I hate to say this, but often the heroes are also the rogue team members that go off and produce acceptable end products, but produce the acceptable end products following non-standard processes, non-standard procedures that in the end don't integrate, don't work as the project whole, work fine as individual sub-deliverables, but don't work as a whole. So again, ensure the quality processes are being followed, ensure that each and every team member is delivering their results according to the standards and procedures defined for the project so that all of the pieces integrate together. In other words, quality assurance is all about ensuring the team is doing the right things right the first time, ensuring that we're following the procedures. And again, I hate to pick on the poor hero, because the hero thinks they're doing things for the betterment of the project. They're getting something done faster, which is great. We want to encourage that with our team members. But if getting things done faster means breaking the processes, not following the standards and procedures, resulting in a single sub-deliverable that is done faster but may not integrate into the project at large, that's doing no one no good. Ensure that we're doing the right things right and absolutely supporting, encouraging process improvement. I'm all for doing things faster, but we need to do things faster for the betterment of the whole project, not for the betterment of project subcomponents. Recognizing that the project team is critical to successful project delivery, i.e. you can't deliver a project without a team, we need to spend sufficient time during project execution ensuring that we have the right team with the right skills and doing what we can to ensure that the team has the support to get the project done, to get the job done. So the first component to that is actually staffing the project. It's getting the team according to the plan. So you need 2 analysts month 1. You need 3 more analysts on month 3. You need 5 developers on month 6. Whatever the staffing plan is going to be for your project, you need to work with the Human Resources Department to execute that plan. Now, there's sometimes significant challenge in that. Or maybe I've simply worked for organizations where there's a challenge in that area, but I think this challenge is fairly universal. Going in during project planning, everybody reviews your staffing plan and says, yes, that makes sense. 2 analysts with this skill set on month 1? Sure, we'll have that for you. On month 3, we need 3 more analysts with this skill set? Sure, we can have that skill set for you. On month 6, we need 5 developers with experience in this programming language? Sure, we'll have that for you. Conceptually, it all makes sense. Conceptually, looking at the staffing plan for the organization, all of this should fall into place. Unfortunately, my experience is, as the project delivers, and you come along to month number 3, and you go back to the Human Resources Department that says, it's now time to bring in these 3 additional analysts, problems start to happen. The Human Resources Department says, yes, Steve, I understand you need these 3 people, but unfortunately 3 new emergency projects have started in our company, and there's simply no experienced analysts available. The president, the CEO, has come up with this emergency project, and the analysts that I had planned for your team are suddenly unavailable because they're working on other project assignments. Here's what we're going to do. We have these 2 junior analysts who are sitting on the bench waiting for a deployment. I'm going to give you those 2 junior analysts, and the very next analyst that we hire, I'm going to put onto your project team. Or we're going to go out and hire an external consultant to come in and augment and support. So again, as you're going through staffing of the project, trying to execute against the original plan that you prepared for your project, there may be, and my experience is there often are, shortfalls between what your plan expects and what the company is able to provide, not because the company has misplanned, not because the HR department in your organization deliberately is trying to sabotage your project, simply because other projects, other priorities are happening inside your company, and sometimes, in spite of all best plans and all best efforts, the staffing complement for your project may fall short, may not be exactly what you're looking for according to your original staff plan. So what do? You yell, you scream, you shout, saying, this is unfair, this is not going to work, this is going to ensure my project is unsuccessful. By all means, and I strongly encourage you to yell, to scream, to shout, to have the temper tantrum that says, my project is important, my project will not be successful unless I have these 3 analysts. Ensure that everyone understands the importance of your project. But yelling and screaming and shouting may not do you any good. All the yelling and screaming and shouting still may not make 3 experienced analysts materialize out of thin air. So then you're going to have to go back and you're going to have to replan, redeploy, rework your plan based on not getting 3 experienced analysts, based on getting 2 junior analysts with some training requirements. So when you're going through and acquiring your project team, doing the incremental staffing, as your project is in execution, when the staffing complement does not support the original plan, you need to go back and replan. You simply don't take the bad news and say, well, I guess I'll do my best. I wanted 3 experienced analysts. I only got 2 junior analysts, but hey, I know we'll still deliver the project on time. That's unrealistic. If you don't get the staff that you expected, go back and replan. Tell the business, tell senior management that says, hey, I understand there are other priorities. I understand this emergency project has been initiated. Therefore, my project is not going to be completed in month 8 because of the staffing shortfall. My project is now not going to be completed until month 10 or whatever the shortfall is going to be. Ensure that as you get staff for your project, you do the appropriate replanning to reforecast the project completion based on the actual staff that you're getting when it's time to staff up your project. Independent of whether you get exactly the staff that you want, or you get a subset, or maybe you're lucky and you get more experienced staff than you expected, you need to support the team during project executing. You need to ensure the team gets the appropriate training. If the team needs training in the business area to ensure that they converse with the business appropriately, provide the training. If the team needs training in the development processes that your project is following, provide the training. Whatever form of training that your team needs to ensure that they can complete their project assignments, ensure that training takes place. And that should be a budget issue for your project. If the team members need training to satisfy project expectations, that should be built into your overall budget for your project. So once the team is trained, once the team have the skills to successfully execute on your project, you then need to do what you need to do, or what you can do, to support the team. There will be conflict resolutions. Team members will not get along. Team members will have challenges with other team members. Team members will have challenges with the business unit. People don't automatically get along. So you need to work with the team. You need to deal with conflicts. You need to do whatever you can do to motivate, to support, to encourage effective team delivery. If you think back to the team building process of forming, storming, performing, and norming, you need to ensure that you're doing what you can do to get the team up to speed, that each and every team member is working, and pardon the cliche, as a well-oiled machine. As a project manager, it's your job to support the team so that they can get on and deliver the project itself.
One of the 2 new processes to the executing process group is managing the team. As I said in the introduction, managing the team is not a new process. It's simply been redistributed. In the previous release of the PMBOK, managing the team was part of monitoring and control. Now, in the 4th edition, managing the team is part of executing. I personally believe managing the team is a much better fit in executing, because managing the team manages the people who are responsible for the execution. Managing the team is managing the people responsible for project delivery. What's involved with managing the team? The most important and probably the key aspect is tracking the performance. What is the status of our project? What work is done? What are the actual effort required with getting the work done? For work that is not yet completed, what are the estimates to complete for that work? Tracking the performance, understanding the issues, understanding the constraints that are keeping our team members from being successful, is all about successfully executing our project. Providing feedback to the team, ensuring the team knows whether the work they are being done, that they are completing, is of appropriate quality, satisfies the project expectations, providing the feedback to the team to keep them focused on the task at hand, to keep them focused on the work required to complete the project. Resolving issues. We talked about resolving issues just a moment ago in developing the team. Here we're talking about resolving issues from a schedule, from a team management viewpoint. are the predecessors. Is the predecessor task for team member A's work complete? What needs to be done to get that predecessor task completed? Making sure they have the tools, making sure they have the equipment. Earlier I talked about dealing with the roadblocks, removing the roadblocks necessary to make the team work effectively. That's what resolving the issue is all about. And again, managing changes to ensure that staff changes, that schedule changes, that all of the changes associated, again, with managing the team are in place.
The next key component to project executing is information distribution, or as I've laid out, communicate, communicate, communicate. The most important thing a project manager can do to ensure all stakeholders, all team members, everyone who knows and cares about your project are fully informed is to communicate. Hold nothing back. Give full, honest, open disclosure of project status, project issues, project successes, and project failures. You need to ensure that you're delivering the appropriate status reports, whether it's a weekly status report or a monthly status report, to the appropriate stakeholders, and that again these status reports contain true, honest, open project status. Do not hide problems. Manage problems, deal with problems internal to your project to the point where you as a project manager have power to influence the problems, but once the problems reach a point where it's beyond your capacity to effect improvement, it's your job as a project manager to ensure you're reporting, you're communicating, you're delivering full, honest, open status reports to the project stakeholders, to the project sponsor on the identified frequency. Weekly status reports to your project sponsor and monthly status reports to senior management and other project stakeholders. It's important that you provide milestone reports to the project stakeholders so they know how the project is doing. At month 3 in the project, we should have been at milestone number 4. Are we at milestone number 4? What's the current forecast for milestone number 4? What's the next milestone forecast for the project? And the most important date for everyone, of course, in the organization is what is the current forecasted end date for our project. Communicate, communicate, communicate. And if you're not sure everyone involved with the project truly understands the project information, communicate one more time. You can never be accused of communicating too much, but you can easily be accused of not communicating enough or the right information.
The second new process group in execution is managing stakeholder expectations. Again, not a new process. This used to be in monitoring and control. The change is, for PMBOK Edition 4, is managing stakeholder expectations has been moved to the executing process group. Managing stakeholder expectations continues where we just left off. Managing stakeholder expectations is all about communicating the status so that all key stakeholders understand the current project status. Managing stakeholders' expectations, communications is all about no surprises. Part of no surprises is contained in manage expectations. If you or any member of your team makes a promise, I'll get back to you by tomorrow, by next week, make sure we get back to the stakeholders by the promise date, even if getting back to them by the promise date is simply a statement that says, this is taking longer than I expected, I'll get back to you now with a new time frame. So manage expectations. Make sure you deliver, make sure your team delivers on all the promises that they've made. And part of that is managing all the risks and issues associated with the project. Managing the stakeholders' expectations, ensuring there's no surprises, is part of key successful project execution. And our final process in executing is conduct procurements. Conduct procurements is also new for the 4th edition of the PMBOK guide, but it's not rearranged as the previous processes have been from the 4th edition, conduct procurements is the amalgamation of several processes from the 3rd edition. What we're calling in the 4th edition called conduct procurements in the previous release was request, seller response, and select sellers. But the intent is still the same, and it's always been part of the executing process group. It's managing the purchase process, whether the purchase process is going directly to a vendor in purchasing, or whether the purchase process is going through a formal request for proposal process. Depending on your purchased route, conducting procurements may involve evaluating responses and selecting the appropriate solution, evaluating all of the responses from the RFPs and selecting the optimal solution, and then going through the actual contract negotiations and selecting the successful bidders, the successful vendors that are going to supply the goods, the services, the products, the materials for your project. Again, quickly, conduct procurements, new to the PMBOK version 4 for an executing process, but really is simply the amalgamation of 2 previous processes that were called select sellers and request seller responses from the previous edition. This concludes our nugget on executing, the 3rd of the project management process groups. Executing is where the team delivers the project. It's where most of the work on the project is done. Our goal as project managers in the executing process is to ensure that we're supporting the team towards delivering the project. As I often say, it's removing the roadblocks necessary to allow the team to deliver the project successfully. In this nugget, we talked about what directing and managing project execution is all about, and really it's these remaining aspects. It's performing the quality assurance, doing the right things to ensure the project is a success. It's about team, acquiring the team, getting the right team members. It's about developing the team, providing the training, providing the support, providing the conflict resolution to make sure the team is working as a well-oiled machine. And it's actually managing the team to make sure the team is doing the right things at the right time that's going to direct them towards delivering the project successfully. And then we have to tell everybody how we're doing. We communicate, we communicate, we communicate. We distribute all of the information, and through our communications process, we're managing the stakeholders' expectations. We're ensuring that all of the promises that we've made to our stakeholders have been met, that there are no surprises. And as long as we've got effective stakeholder communications processes in place, as long as we're communicating all of the appropriate information, whether it's good news or bad news, again, we're well on our way to removing the roadblocks to allow the team to effectively deliver the project. And the last piece for executing, for removing the roadblocks, is buying the goods, the services, the product, the materials necessary to allow the team to do the work. Executing, the 3rd of our project management process groups, is where the team delivers the project. Our next process group, monitoring control, is where we, the project managers, track and manage the project to ensure that it is on schedule. This concludes our nugget on project executing. I hope this video has been informative for you, and thank you very much for viewing.